Hi, this is Cheryl Peterson with Healing Science Today and a Christian Science sermon. I'll read from the New International Version of the Bible and from 21st Century Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, a modern version of Mary Baker Eddy's Science and Health. The subject, truth. Golden text from John. The hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. Genesis. Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant, for I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. And Jacob arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So he said to him, What is your name? He said, Jacob. And he said, Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men, and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked, saying, Tell me your name, I pray. And he said, Why is it that you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Just as he had crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the muscle that shrank. 21st Century Science and Health. The soul-inspired patriarchs probably heard the voice of truth and talked with God as consciously as people talk to one another. Jacob was alone, wrestling with error, struggling with flesh and its pleasures and pains, when an angel, a message from truth and love, appeared. The angel struck the sinew or strength of Jacob's flesh talk until he perceived its unreality. Truth, being thereby understood, gave Jacob spiritual strength in this Peniel of divine science. The angel said, Let me go, for it is daybreak. That is, the light of truth and love dawns on you. However, Jacob didn't loosen his hold on this glorious light until his nature was transformed. The angel then said, Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have overcome. Jacob asked his deliverer, Please tell me your name. However, a specific name was withheld because the messenger was not a corporeal being, but a nameless, bodiless communication of divine love, giving a more complete sense of being that naturally rebuked the incomplete materialist sense. The psalmist experienced this same angel-inspired confidence of love and said it restores my soul. Jacob's wrestling resulted in a new understanding of spirit and spiritual power that conquered human mindsets. This changed the man. He was no longer called Jacob, but Israel, a prince of God, or a soldier of God, who had fought a good fight. He was to become the father of those who through earnest effort repeated his demonstration of the power of spirit over the human senses. The people who followed the patriarch's example were to be called the children of Israel until the Messiah should rename them. Problem is, if people stray and forget that life is God, they are brought back through great tribulation. Suffering compels us to deny temporal life perceptions and understand the divine power which heals the sick and sinning. Truth should and does drive error out of all mortal selfhood. A realization of this excellent truth is a source of strength. John. Pilate then went out to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered and said to him, "If Jesus were not an evildoer, we would not have delivered him up to you." Then Pilate said to them, "You take him and judge him according to your law." Therefore the Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death, that the saying of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying by what death he would die." Then Pilate entered the praetorium again, called Jesus, and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered him, "Are you speaking for yourself about this, or did others tell you this concerning me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priest have delivered you to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight so that I should not be delivered to the Jews, but now my kingdom is not from here." Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" Jesus answered, "You say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born, and for this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth hears my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" And when he had said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, "I find no fault in him at all." Ephesians. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. 21st Century Science and Health. The question, what is truth, convulses the world. Many are ready to meet this inquiry with the assurance which comes of understanding. However, more people are blinded by their old misinterpretations and try to pass the question off. If one blind person guides another, both will fall into a pit. The efforts to answer the question, what is truth, by some ology, are vain. Spiritual reasoning and free thought accompany approaching science and cannot be put down. Divine logic and metaphysics will liberate humanity and strategically remove and displace unscientific means and laws. Truth encourages the elements of freedom. The soul-inspired headline reads, "Terrorism Eliminated." The power of God brings deliverance. No power can withstand divine love. What or who is it that makes the rules of exploitation and depression? What is it that draws us away from spirit? How do we become saddled by wants and whims? What is it that holds human beings in the clutches of sin, sickness, and loss? Truth makes us free. At first, truth leads the few and faithful free thoughts of truth. As time marches on, those unrestricted thoughts move forward with the motto of freedom. The powers of this world will react, And the old guard will try to stop truth, will try to make it submit to their human standards and systems. But science is not distracted by threats or assaults and continues to unfold. There is always some chaos. However, a mobilization to truth's standard is inevitable. Remember, truth is greater than error, and we cannot put the greater into the lesser. Soul is spirit, and spirit is greater than body. If spirit were once within the body, spirit would be bound, and therefore could not be infinite spirit. The statement that truth is real necessarily includes this correlation that error, truth's unlikeness, is unreal. Truth and error seem to be in conflict. The contention of truth and error is only the mental conflict between the evidence of the spiritual perceptions and the testimony of the human imprints. Through faith in and the understanding of divine love, the battle between spirit and flesh will settle all questions. Superstition and understanding can never unite. When the final physical and moral effects of divine science are fully understood, the conflict between truth and error, understanding and belief, spiritual sense and physical sense will cease, and lasting harmony will prevail, as was predicted by the prophets and introduced by Jesus. During the conflict, the lightning and thunderbolts of error burst and flash, but the clouds will clear, and the tumult will die away in the distance, for the raindrops of divinity to refresh the earth. As St. Paul says, there remains, then, a Sabbath rest for the people of God, of spirit. Eternal truth is changing the universe, and physical forces are trying to keep up. Don't be impressed by materialist views that support physical forces. Instead, experience spiritual thought expanding into expression. Let there be light is the perpetual demand of truth and love, changing chaos into order and discord into the music of the spheres.